This is the pre-proposal conference for the Security Study Services RFP number 362-180-003. On the panel today, we have Eric Williams, the Hub Coordinator, Jeff Manners, he's our Compliance Coordinator, Angela Skyby Zagarba, she's the Contracts Manager, and Andy Marker, he's our Deputy General Counsel. If you have not signed the sign-in sheet, please do so. Copies of the sign-in sheet will be available at the end of today's meeting. In addition, a copy of the sign-in sheet will also be posted on the Electronic State Business Daily and Texas Lottery website. This is for sharing of information between prime vendors and subs. We have extra copies of the RFP located on the table at the entrance. You are welcome to take any remaining copies. If you have not done so, please silence all cell phones. This conference is being video and audio recorded. If you have any questions during the question and answer sessions, we ask that you use one of the handheld microphones so that your questions can be clearly heard. Okay. We may not have those, but we will review the video after the conference and restate the questions and answers in the Q&A document, which will be released in accordance with the schedule of events. We will give our best responses to your questions today. However, any questions we cannot answer today will be answered in writing and included in the Q&A document. Please note the written Q&A document is our final answer. Following this conference, if you think of any additional questions, you have an opportunity to submit these in writing. These are your opportunities to ask questions, and we encourage you to do so regarding the requirements of the RFP. If you are unsure of language written in the RFP or need further clarification, this is your chance to receive the information you need. After proposals are received, it is then the Texas Lottery's time to ask questions and/or seek clarification if needed. Please note that any oral communication that would alter or amend the RFP as written is not binding. Any and all changes or modifications to the RFP will be made in writing and posted on the ESBD and the Texas Lottery's website. You are encouraged to check these websites throughout the process and once more before submitting a proposal. Please note that there may be several RFPs posted on the TLC website at one time, so be sure that you are viewing the correct RFP for updates. This RFP is open to any and all vendors who can perform the services. To submit a proposal, you do not need to be registered on the CMBL, be Hub certified, nor is there any approved vendor list. We will now briefly review the RFP by parts. While we may only discuss certain sections or provisions of the RFP during this conference, all sections and provisions of the RFP are important, and you should read and understand the entire RFP before submitting your proposal. You will have an opportunity after each part to ask general questions. Part 1 is general information. Section 1.4, the schedule of events. This section includes critical dates for this procurement. If there are any changes to these dates up to the deadline for proposals, an amendment will be posted on the ESBD and Texas Lottery's website. In Section 1.7, because we are a state agency, proposals are subject to the Public Information Act, also known as Open Records Act. During the procurement process, we will not release any information contained in your proposal. However, after the contract is awarded, your entire proposal is subject to this act and is considered public information. If there is any information in your proposal that is confidential and exempt from disclosure under the Texas Public Information Act, you must mark it as confidential. Examples of confidential information may be financial information or information that you consider trade secret or proprietary. It is important that you mark every applicable page and/or section that you consider confidential, and if possible, mark which exception to the Texas Public Information Act it falls under. The Public Information Act is located under Texas Government Code, Chapter 552. On the Office of the Attorney General's website is the Public Information Handbook, and it lists all exceptions. If you have information that you consider confidential, respond to Section 1.7, list the information, including a brief commentary or justification, in addition to marking individual sections and/or pages. Are there any questions to Part 1? Part 2, the proposal process. As stated in Section 2.1, I am the sole point of contact for this RFP. All questions should be directed to me, including any hub questions. Sections 2.4, questions shall be submitted via email by the deadline in the schedule of events. All responses will be posted on the websites. That's the ESBD and Texas Lottery website. Section 2.5, proposal must be submitted in the format prescribed in this section. We ask that you submit 1 original and 10 copies. The original proposal should be clearly marked as original. Be sure that your proposal contains responses to all sections and parts of the RFP. And be sure that your proposal numbering corresponds with that of the RFP. You can provide a blanket acknowledgement for parts 1, 2, and 3. Parts 4 and 6 require a section-by-section response. That means for our 4.1, we're looking for a 4.1 in your response that corresponds to the RFP. For Part 5, complete and submit 1 original and 2 copies of the HSP. This can be in a separate binder or folder. There are some provisions that do not invite a detailed response, and it is acceptable to state that you agree and will comply. Section 2.5.4, the proposer's commitment, which is attachment A, and the background information certification, which is attachment D1, must be signed by an officer or agent of proposal with the authority to contractually bind the proposer, and the original attachment must be included in the original proposal. Under Section 2.5.7, you are required to submit an electronic copy, either CD or USB, of the text portion only of your proposal. Please do not include any cost on the CD or USB. Section 2.5.8, please note copyrighted proposals are unacceptable and may be rejected. So please don't stamp them copyrighted. Sorry about that. Section 2.6 covers the format and contents for which your proposals must be organized. This includes a letter of transmittal, executive summary, either a blanket acknowledgement of Part 1, 2, and 3, or a section-by-section response to 1, 2, and 3, a section-by-section response for Parts 4 and 6, your sealed cost proposal, which can be attached to the original proposal only, attachment A, proposer's commitment, and attachment D1, background information certification. Section 2.7, letter of transmittal, must clearly state that the proposal is valid for 180 days, give an overview of why your company is most qualified, and include a statement accepting the terms and conditions in Part 3 and/or any exceptions to such. Sections 2.8, executive summary, should be a full and concise summary and not exceed 5 pages. Section 2.10 is your cost proposal. Must be in the format included in attachment H in a separately sealed envelope as an attachment to the original proposal. We only need the signed original. Any disclosure of costs in the body of the written proposal is cause for disqualification. The sealed envelope should only contain your cost proposal. Please do not include any marketing material and/or information in your sealed cost proposal. The sealed cost proposal is not open until after the proposal is scored on its technical merit. Therefore, any additional materials that are included in the sealed envelope will not be evaluated. Section 2.11, proposals may submit only one proposal and one cost proposal. Section 2.12, any RFP changes, modifications, or cancellation will be posted on the websites. That's the ESBD and Texas Lottery website. Section 2.15, proposal evaluation. The scoring matrix is attachment G and will be used for evaluation of proposals in response to this RFP. Please note that there are two pass-fail categories. That's the HSP analysis and financial analysis. Your proposal essentially goes through 4 phases once it's submitted to us. The first is an initial assessment for compliance and completeness. We're just checking to make sure you have everything that we asked for in the RFP. Next, it is reviewed for financial analysis and HSP. It is then reviewed and evaluated on its technical merit. And finally, the cost proposal is open and reviewed. If at any given time your proposal is disqualified, you will receive a notice stating such. Are there any questions on part 2? Okay, move on to part 3. Part 3 is the contractual terms and conditions. This part describes the terms and conditions which apply to the procurement process and which will become a part of the contract executed pursuant to this RFP. Please read over this entire RFP document to ensure that you fully understand and will comply with all provisions. Any exceptions to the RFP should be clearly stated in the letter of transmittal, providing specific and detailed reasons for each exception, together with some suggested language. The contract resulting from the RFP will incorporate the RFP, any amendments, the questions and responses, the contractor's proposal, and the cost proposal. Please note a performance bond is required under RFP Section 3.35 and is required under the State Lottery Act. Therefore, we cannot accept alternatives. Are there any questions on part 3? Okay. Part 4 is required information. Sections 4.1 through 4.5. Although these sections seem brief in the RFP, these sections require proposers to gather, compile, and submit a great deal of detailed documentation. Please read these sections thoroughly and provide all the information in your section-by-section response. So for 4.1 in the RFP, we're looking for a 4.1 in your proposal. Section 4.6 is the conflict of interest. In this section, you are asked to disclose any actual, potential, and/or perceived conflicts of interest. Please review this section and make any disclosures. Section 4.7 is financial soundness. Texas Lottery Commission does a thorough financial analysis of all proposals. Please provide the information requested under this section. If you feel this information is confidential, please mark it as such. This is a pass-fail category on the scoring matrix. It is critical that you provide the requested information. Section 4.8, background investigations. TLC reserves the right to conduct an in-depth background investigation on the apparent successful proposer. Section 4.8.2, a background investigation may be conducted on contractually defined vendor principals. Those who are directly involved in selling or leasing the goods or performing the services subject to this RFP or resulting contract. This includes any partners, shareholders, officers, directors who are directly involved. Section 4.8.3, background investigations may be conducted on vendor employees who meet one or more of the criteria under this section. Background investigations will include fingerprinting. The apparent successful proposer may be required to complete all forms included in Attachment E. That includes Attachment E1, 2, 3, and 4 of the RFP by the prescribed time after the written announcement of the apparent successful proposer by the Texas Lottery. If you feel that the information you are providing in Attachment E is confidential, please mark it as such. As mentioned before, we ask that all proposers complete and submit Attachment D1 with this proposal. This is a certification that your company would not be denied a sales agent license under Texas Government Code 466.155, which is Attachment D in RFP. Section 4.9 is disclosure of interested parties. If requested, the successful proposer will be required to fill out a 1295 form with the Texas Ethics Commission, and this is normally for contracts over $1 million. Are there any questions on Part 4? Part 5 is the HSP, and at this time I'll turn it over to Eric Williams, who's going to go over Part 5.
Good afternoon. My name is Eric Williams, and I'm the Hub Coordinator for the Texas Lottery Commission. I'll be covering a very crucial element of your proposal, the Hub Subcontracting Plan, or HSP. This information can be found behind the Presentation tab and the yellow booklet you received when you checked in. If you're not the individual responsible for preparing the HSP, please pass this information to that individual and recommend they watch this video, which will be posted on our website. The Hub Subcontracting Plan is used to identify both Hub and non-Hub subcontractors that will be utilized under the awarded contract. All proposers, Hub and non-Hub, submitting a response to this RFP are required to submit an HSP. No one is exempt. As Sonia previously mentioned, the HSP is a pass-fail element of this RFP. No evaluation points are given for the HSP. So if you're a Hub and you are submitting an HSP, there are no points given for being a Hub. It's only pass or fail element of this RFP. All proposals must submit an HSP with their proposal regardless if they are subcontracting or not. Proposals that do not include an HSP will be rejected and will not be evaluated. So it's important to complete and submit an HSP with your proposal. Also, if it is determined that your submitted HSP has failed, your proposal will be disqualified and will not be evaluated. The HSP process is governed by a rule established by the Texas Comptroller of Public Accounts. A copy of this rule is included in the back of your booklet. Per Section 5.1 of the RFP, you are responsible for reviewing this rule. Looking at the definition of subcontractor, the definition of subcontractor is very broad and applies to any third-party vendor used to fulfill a portion of the contract. Our definition of a subcontractor is a person who contracts with a successful proposer to work, supply commodities, or contribute toward completing work for the Texas Lottery Commission. In other words, if the company who was awarded the contract is paying anyone who is not an employee to provide goods and or services, they are very likely subcontracting under this definition, and it is not limited to services. Now we'll take a look at the ways that you can complete your HSP. We'll look at self-performance. Self-performance is when a proposer is capable of fulfilling the entire contract with his own equipment, supplies, materials, and or employees. Keep in mind that a pre-existing subcontracting relationship is considered subcontracting, in which case you cannot claim self-performance. A pre-existing subcontracting relationship is a business affiliation your company has with a third-party vendor who is currently supplying your company with goods and or services, and will continue to supply those goods and those services to assist you in the performance of the contract. If you determine that your company is capable of fulfilling the entire contract with its own equipment, supplies, materials, and or employees, you would check no on Section 2, which is the respondent subcontracting intentions of the HSP form, and complete Section 3 with your justification for your self-performance. When completing Section 3, you must provide a thorough explanation of how your company will provide the entire contract with its own employees, supplies, materials, and or equipment as it relates to Section 5.5.1 of the RFP. You must sign and date Section 4 and submit your HSP with your proposal. If you're not self-performing, you will need to proceed with the good faith effort method of the HSP. We have identified potential subcontracting opportunities in Section 5.5.1 of the RFP. These areas may or may not be subcontracted, depending on how your company conducts its business. You are not limited to the list in the RFP. However, if you intend to subcontract any portion of the contract and it's not listed, you are responsible for identifying it in your HSP submission. We have included in the RFP a list of hub vendors by CMBL class and commodity description to assist you in finding potential hub vendors. And in this list that we provided, this list was printed out 2 weeks ago. So if you look at this list, we would suggest that you also look out on the CMBL to verify that that hub is a Texas certified active hub, because they may or may not be at the time you look out there. But when we printed the list, they were an active hub at that time. The good faith effort methods are for those proposers who intend to subcontract any portion of the contract. The goal of this good faith effort is to actively involve hubs in the Texas procurement process and ensure they receive a fair share of state business. The proposer must indicate in Section 2 on the HSP form that they intend to subcontract and must perform one of the 3 good faith effort methods. Good faith effort method A, which has 2 options, and good faith effort method B. We've also included an optional quick checklist, and the quick checklist is provided to assist you in readily identifying the method and sections of the HSP form that you will need to complete. We'll look at the 3 options. Method A, 1 is the first option we'll discuss. Again, option 1 has been identified as subcontracting using 100% hubs only. The proposal will use only Texas certified hubs for all subcontracting opportunities. Located in the RFP, we've identified potential hub vendors by CMBL class and commodity description. If you use this method, please verify online that the hub vendor is still an active hub on the CMBL. Option 2, the proposer meets the specified hub contract goal. The goal for this contract is 26%, as stated in Section 5.4.1 of the RFP. The proposal will use a combination of Texas certified hubs with whom they have contracted for 5 years or less, and an aggregate percentage that meets the specific contract goal, again, which is 26%, and they will also use non-hubs to fulfill the contract obligation. This means 26% of the total that we would pay you for the contract services. If you're not going to subcontract and cannot claim method if you're going to subcontract and cannot claim method A1 or A2, then you must submit your HSP using method B, which is the good faith effort outreach. And the good faith effort outreach states a proposal will perform good faith effort outreach by contacting at least 3 Texas certified hubs and 2 trade organizations or development centers that serve members of the hub groups for each identified subcontracting opportunity. This method requires allowing 7 working days for vendors to respond to your notice. And this is the only method where you will have to send out a notice and give the hub vendors and also the trade organizations notification. The other 2 methods we talked about, you will not have to send out any type of notification, allowing them time to respond. A list of the trade organizations has also been provided to you in the yellow booklet. Proposers using this method must perform outreach even for areas where a proposer has a pre-existing or an exclusive subcontracting relationship that will be used in the performance of this contract. Once your proposal has been submitted and received, the agency will review and evaluate the HSP and supporting documentation. During the review, we may request for clarification regarding your submitted HSP. Again, there are no evaluation points assigned to the HSP. It is strictly a pass or fail element. If it is determined that your HSP has failed, your proposal will not be evaluated. Following the award of the contract, any proposed changes to the HSP must be submitted for review and approval by the agency. A written change approval form will be provided by the Lottery Commission. Subcontracting without prior authorization is a breach of contract. Monthly subcontracting expenditure reports are required as a condition of payment. Also, the successful proposer must provide written notice to each subcontractor informing them of their selection. A copy of this notice must be provided to the Lottery Commission no later than 10 working days after contract award, as stated in section 5.6.1 of the RFP. To assist you with the HSP, the Lottery Commission provides the following resources and assistance. All vendors are strongly encouraged to take advantage of all the resources. This pre-proposal conference video and booklet will be posted on the agency website. An HSP quick checklist is included in the RFP as well as in the yellow booklet. You have the opportunity to submit written HSP questions. HSP questions can be submitted up until the date of submission of your proposal. However, keep in mind that you may not have time to correct any deficiencies with your plan. You are encouraged to start working on your plan right away to give yourself plenty of time. The HSP Q&A is posted on the Texas Lottery Commission website as well as the ESBD, which will be a rolling document, so be sure to check the posted date. We will review draft HSP forms to identify deficiencies and provide feedback, but we will not state whether your draft has passed or failed. We will provide one-on-one workshops upon request. These may be conducted in person or via conference call. And regarding the draft HSPs and also the conference calls or the workshops, there's no magic number. You can submit as many as you would like up until the cutoff date, and you can also request as many workshops up until that cutoff date. And that date is in your in the RFP. As per section 2.1 of the RFP, please forward all questions or requests to Sonia. The last date for review of the draft forms for any deficiencies and one-on-one workshops is 4 p.m. and is also listed in your schedule. So again, please pay close attention to your schedule, and that date is, as scheduled currently, is November 27th. We encourage you to take full advantage of all the available resources to assist you with the HSP. Once you submitted your HSP, the proposal, there is no opportunity to correct or cure any deficiencies. Please consult the schedule of events and make sure that you know which dates are critical in terms of preparing and submitting the HSP. In closing, I'll remind you again, if you are not the person who is responsible for completing the HSP, please pass this information to them, as well as let them know that today's pre-proposal conference will be available for view on the agency's website. Any questions you might have regarding the HSP after this conference will be answered and posted on the agency website and the ESBD. The last date to submit proposals and questions will be, currently as stated in the HSP, will be January 4th, 2018 at 4 p.m. Are there any questions on Part 5 of the HSP? Part 5 of the RFP? I'll turn it back over to you, son.
Thank you, Eric. The HSP Q&A is a running document. For any additional questions that we receive, we will add to the same document and revise the date on the document. There will only be one link on our website or attachment on ESBD for the HSP questions. So please check the websites often to see any changes since you last viewed it. Again, are there any questions on Part 5? Part 6 is the scope of services, or what we call technical. Part 6 requires a section-by-section response. I will not be going into detail on this section. This is your opportunity to tell us how you will perform the services described in each section. It is not enough to say you can do something. Please tell us how you will do it. Provide examples of techniques that you've used for success. Proposers need to demonstrate their abilities to do the work requested. Are there any questions on Part 6? You guys are quiet. At this time, I'd like to open the floor for our questions, including the scope and attachments. No questions. Okay, just a few final reminders. All scope of services questions must be submitted in writing via email to me by the deadline in the schedule of events. Scope of services questions that are not submitted in writing by the time and date specified will not be answered. If you have a question on the RFP process, you can contact me and I may be able to respond. Generally, this is the case for all sections except Part 6. But don't hesitate to ask. Make note of all dates in the schedule of events. Proposers are responsible for checking the ESBD and the TLC website for any and all notices, amendments, and Q&A regarding this RFP. We will not directly email these to you. We just post them on the two websites, ESBD and TLC. Prior to submission of your proposal, please review the entire RFP carefully to ensure that you submit all required information and/or documentation. This concludes our conference. You guys are welcome to network and hang around if you want to. We want to thank you for your attendance.